None of our lives can matter more than this mission.
I don't accept that.
The show goes on! Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back, because today I'm going to give you guys my ranking of the Mission Impossible franchise from least favorite to favorite, with the newly released movie Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 in theaters now. Before I kick off the ranking, just to let you all know, I am a fan of the Mission Impossible franchise. Not only is it one of my favorites of all time, but it is a really consistent franchise where even on its worst day, it is still decent and enjoyable, and it's better than most worst movies in a franchise out there right now. And I just love what Tom Cruise is able to do with these movies and consistently delivering amazing action, great stories and characters. And to this day, I continue to love this franchise and really excited to see where they go next. But let me know down below in the comments, what's your ranking of all the Mission Impossible movies? I'd love to know that. And with that said, let's get started. In last place is Mission Impossible 2. Make no mistake, even though this is my least favorite movie in the franchise, I still think this is a decent movie. I really like what Tom Cruise does as Ethan Hunt here. His hairstyle is great, and the rock climbing scene in the beginning was also very good. And the last half of this movie with the action, the spectacle, it's stylish. John Woo gunfight all the way through. The last half is awesome, and it kicks so much butt on screen. And I actually really like the story idea of Ethan Hunt trying to stop rogue IMF agent Sean Ambrose from selling the Chimera, which could cause so much problems to the world. And I really enjoyed that side of the movie, and even though it does feel like it does overdo slow motion, I still thought it's a pretty fun movie with a lot of merit in there. But where this movie falters for me is the first half of the movie takes a while to get into. The romance plotline with Naya and Ethan and even Sean with that, I wasn't so big on that whole storyline. It feels like we were just meandering the plot. It's not really as interesting when that was the main focus here, and it does get very soap opera-y, and so as having to ditch the Brian De Palma directing thriller style of the first movie with something that feels a little bit more soap opera-y and throw in some James Bond elements here while still trying to serve as a sequel to Mission Impossible. And so this movie feels like it has so many different tones and ideas it wants to go for, with a part romance movie, part spy movie, part action gun fu movie. And make no mistake, the action part, especially in the last half, is very awesome. But as a whole, even though I still find a lot of enjoyment out of it, and even on its worst day, it's still better than most worst movies in a franchise, this is definitely the weakest Mission Impossible movie of the 7. In 6th place is Mission Impossible 3. There's a big gap between Mission Impossible 2 and Mission Impossible 3 because I love Mission Impossible 3. J.J. Abrams directed this movie very well, for this being his directorial debut, and I would say this is his most underrated movie to date. Philip Seymour Hoffman as Owen Davian is incredible. May he rest in peace, because this is one of the best villains in the Mission Impossible franchise, with his scenes with Ethan Hunt and talking to him about what's he going to do to Julia, and when he gets the rabbit's foot. He is a really intimidating foe in this movie, and I love that J.J. Abrams utilizes the mystery box technique so well, with questions like, what is the rabbit's foot? What is happening? What's going to happen? This is all very good here, and the idea of giving Ethan a love interest with Julia was a really great decision, because it makes Mission Impossible 3 one of the more personal Mission Impossible stories, where it's not just about trying to save the world, but it's also about him trying to save his wife, him trying to find a way to protect her while also trying to stop Owen Davian. And the action is very good here, especially on the bridge, which is awesome. And I liked the cast here, especially throwing in Billy Crudup and Lawrence Fishburne in here, and even an appearance from Aaron Paul.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah! Yes! Yes!
And another thing I love about the movie is the tension keeps on growing. It has a really great opening right off the bat, and the rest of the movie develops us to get to the point where the opening happened. And the momentum keeps on growing, and the tension gets higher and higher and higher. and it ends on a really good note. And although I do think it gets to the ending really quickly, and I wanted more time to get to that ending, and so as the fact that the way it's resolved isn't the most bombastic of the Mission Impossible movies, I still love Mission Impossible 3, both for a J.J. Abrams movie and so as being a really worthy sequel to the Mission Impossible series. In fifth place is the one that started it all, Mission Impossible. Upon rewatch, I just realized how awesome this movie is. Brian De Palma directed this movie with so much thriller and tension style to it, and I love it. Where a lot of the other Mission Impossible movies are a lot more action-packed than this movie. But I love the thrills and the suspense in this one. Where right off the bat, Ethan Hunt's on a mission and his team is dead and he's framed for it and he's trying to find a way to protect himself, protect the IMF agency, and protect any spies out there. And this movie rocks. Right off the bat, Tom Cruise is just so good as Ethan Hunt, being in this really awful situation of him trying to find his way out of the predicament that he is in. And I love the performances, how he meets Luther Stickle. And the Langley break-in sequence is one of the best set pieces in the franchise. It's full of suspense where he pays attention to every single detail, with the temperature getting higher and the fact that if somebody were to touch the ground and if anything bad were to happen that goes off script, then everything goes away. And this movie just captures the tension so well, especially the aquarium scene with Ethan Hunt and Eugene Kittredge, which is just an incredible scene. And I really like the twist villain that Jim Phelps ends up being the perpetrator of this. And even though it is a very controversial choice to do this because Jim Phelps was the main protagonist in the TV show that the movies are based off of, I really like this movie. It's a great thriller that cannot believe that this is just how it all started, because it's an amazing start to the series, to a franchise that gets even better as it went on. In fourth place is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. This movie kicks off with a bang, with Ethan Hunt hanging on the side of a plane. The action sequences as a whole are incredible, with the opera set piece, and so as the Morocco motorcycle chase, and the way the third act comes to a close is so satisfying. And plus, this movie has one of the best team dynamics with Ethan, Brant, Luther, Benji, and Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust is one of the best characters in these movies. And it's a really good start to the Christopher McQuarrie era of Mission Impossible movies, where the IMF has been disavowed and everybody's after Ethan Hunt, while he's also trying to expose the syndicate because they are organized in the shadows and committing all of these acts of terrorism. And this movie just never lets go. It is witty when it needs to be, but it's a lot more darker than the other movies, and it's serious and thrilling all the way through, with amazing action set pieces, really good pacing, really good performances and characters. And Solomon Lane is one of the best villains in the series, and I really like this one a lot. Rogue Nation is another win for this franchise in this era of the series. In third place is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. I go back and forth on Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation so much, but for now, this is where I'm leaning with my ranking. Ghost Protocol, I have a big soft spot for, because not only was this the movie that introduced me to the Mission Impossible franchise, but this movie is so much fun. It's a lot more lighthearted than the other Mission Impossible movies. It has a lot of fun to it, from the opening, the middle, the third act, and so as a story where the Kremlin blew up, there's a nuclear arms conspiracy going on, and so as Ethan Hunt and the IMF team all on their own with no backup to help them out, because now the IMF is in danger, and now they got to solve this mission with nobody else to rely on. This movie just rocks. It's really well directed by Brad Bird, who mainly works in animation, and he made quite the leap in live action with Ghost Protocol, and I love the recurring theme that every new piece of technology is so crucial to this movie, but they always fail. And I love that recurring theme so much. With every technology, it works for a time and then it doesn't. And then adding to that, I love the team here with Ethan, Brant, Benji, and Jane Carter, who I also think is a very underrated character in the series. And it's so funny. It's the funniest movie in the series, especially with a moment like this.
Your line's not long enough! No shit!
And it's so well paced and so exciting from beginning to end. The missions are memorable, and by far the Burj Khalifa climb is one of the best set pieces in not only the entire Mission Impossible franchise, but in action movies in general. It is just incredible how Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt climbed the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, and it looks incredible. And this movie has some really good characters, and it's just so fun, and it has a really satisfying resolution with this.
Mission accomplished!
I only have two minor issues that don't ruin the movie at all, but they do hold it back from being higher up on my list. The first one is that I really wish the villain was a lot better. They have a really good actor playing the character, but the villain is the most unmemorable and generic Mission Impossible villain. I wish he was a lot more developed. And the second issue is that I really missed Luther because he is always a main character in all the other movies, but in this one, he's only really a cameo. But as a whole, I love Ghost Protocol. It kicked off these movies to be where they are today. That all stemmed from Ghost Protocol, where thanks to Brad Bird's directing and the lighthearted, fun, action-packed energy and a great team dynamic with Ghost Protocol, I thought this movie is a slam dunk and one of the best movies in the Mission Impossible franchise. In second place is the new guy on the block, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. But for as it stands, I love Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's intense, action-packed, really funny when it needs to be at times. It feels like a really nice combination of the humor of Ghost Protocol, the big action and scope of Fallout, with the paranoia feeling of the first movie, with the camera work being so dynamic, great characters, both old and new. I love Haley Atwell's Grace, her dynamic with Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt is fantastic, and so as Palm Clementif as Paris, and so is bringing back Eugene Kittredge for the first time since the first movie in a role that I was really liking from him. And I love the team here where it explores Ethan Hunt and how far he will go to stop the AI known as the Entity, which is such a dangerous thing for the characters, and what are they going to do to stop it. And so as how far will he go to make sure that his team members are alive and okay. This movie is just so compelling here from beginning to end. The villains are very interesting to me, and I'm curious to see where that goes in part 2. The action is some of the best in the series. The set pieces are incredible, with Tom Cruise driving a motorcycle off a cliff being mesmerizing, the nightclub fight, the third act sequence on the train. All of it is memorable, incredible, and so is anxiety-inducing. And then Christopher McQuarrie also directed this marvelously yet again, and Ethan Hunt is so good in this movie. And it also reminds me of Mission Impossible 3 a little bit, with how this movie is a very personal one for Ethan Hunt. Not only is it about him trying to go as far as he can to stop this threat, especially the AI known as the Entity, but also by going as far as he can to ensure that his team members are alive and safe. And so as exploring how far will he go to complete this mission, and so as exploring his past before he became an IMF agent. This movie has everything I love from Mission Impossible movies, with great characters, incredible action, marvelous directing, a really good story that I was so into. And I felt the stakes and the momentum growing at every passing minute. And this movie is just a really good capsulation of why the Mission Impossible franchise is one of the best of all time, why I love these movies, and so is why Tom Cruise is one of the best movie stars of our generation. And this movie does feel really good as a part 1 story, where even though the wider conflict is still at large, this movie still has a nice ending to what part 1 is all about, and it leaves me really stoked for where Dead Reckoning Part 2 is going to go, because I love these characters, the movie, and the story I'm so interested in, and I can't wait to see how they land the plane in Dead Reckoning Part 2. But coming in at first place is Mission Impossible Fallout. Not only is this right now my favorite movie in the franchise, but this is one of the best action movies ever made. Right off the bat, it gives you exactly what the story's all about. It's dark, it's mature, it's engaging, and it is so exciting from beginning to end, with some of the best action set pieces like the bathroom fight, the Halo jump sequence, Ethan Hunt chasing down John Lark, the third act with the helicopters. This movie has everything you'd hope that would be for a Mission Impossible movie, and so is bringing back Julia to make the stakes even higher in the climax. And I love the team dynamic here where Ethan Hunt refuses to let a team member die, and now plutonium is in the hands of the enemy, and now they gotta go as far as they can to get the plutonium and stop more world-ending events. And this movie is just incredible. Henry Cavill as John Lark is amazing. He is so compelling in this movie, and Solomon Lane and John Lark remain as my favorite villains from a Mission Impossible movie. And it's so fast-paced, exciting, and so is the set pieces, and so is how every character plays into this story. And this movie just captures what I love about blockbusters: the practical stunt work, the incredible action with great characters, and a phenomenal story. And Fallout is just exactly why these movies are just so good in the first place, and why this one in particular is not only my favorite movie of the franchise, but one of my favorites of all time, because this is a rewatchable movie with so many stakes and some really good humor, despite having a much darker tone than every other movie before it, and I really enjoyed Fallout here. I'm curious to know whether Fallout will still be my number one, considering Dead Reckoning Part 2 is next year. But as it stands, in first place is Mission Impossible Fallout, because not only is it my favorite Mission Impossible movie, but it has everything I love about these movies all the way through, and it is so exciting and engaging, and even better every single time I watch it. So in the end, in first place is Mission Impossible Fallout. So yeah, that's my ranking of all 7 Mission Impossible movies from least favorite to favorite. What's your ranking of the movies? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Stay tuned for some upcoming videos I have planned very soon. I'm going to have a review for Barbie, as I'm seeing that soon at some point. And we have Oppenheimer coming out soon. And I'm so excited. Not only is Barbenheimer time here, but a new Christopher Nolan and Greta Gerwig movie from them both is being released very soon, and I'm so excited. So stay tuned for all that fun stuff coming your way very soon. And don't forget to follow me on social media. My username is down below at the bottom of the screen and in the description below, so please go do that while you're at it. And thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button, and stay tuned for more.